Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unite for Life video event, a historic gathering of pregnancy care agencies and pro-life advocates from across North America, and the debut of the Abby Johnson documentary, Unplanned. Abby Johnson, a former abortion clinic director for Planned Parenthood, is now an advocate for pro-life pregnancy centers, and she's here to tell her story. Also joining us are special guests representing over 2,500 pregnancy care centers and clinics, Dr. Peggy Hartshorn, President of Heartbeat International, Sean Carney, Executive Director of the Coalition for Life, Melinda Delahoyd, President of CareNet, Tom Glesner, Founder and President of the National Institute of Family and Life Advocates, and Lola French, CEO of the Canadian Association of Pregnancy Support Services. And now, your host for the evening, Vice President of Community Outreach for Focus on the Family, please welcome Kelly Rosati.
Welcome. It's an honor to have you with us here at Unite for Life. We've heard from people in more than 100 countries interested in tuning in tonight, and we are excited that you're investing your time with us. Thank you for caring about women who are in the midst of making one of the most difficult and important decisions of their lives, whether or not to choose an abortion for their preborn child. We're coming to you tonight from the Heartbeat International 40th Anniversary Convention in Columbus, Ohio. And we have an amazing lineup tonight, but before we dive in, I'd like to show you the faces of women who've needed the help of pregnancy care centers in the U.S. and Canada.
Well, at first I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe I was pregnant.
I considered abortion.
I felt very afraid. Boy, I tell you, abortion crosses your mind really fast once you're put in those shoes.
I never knew what abortion was.
These women are our neighbors, sisters, friends, wives, and co-workers, and we'll be sharing more with you about the work of the pregnancy care centers who help women facing unplanned pregnancies. And you have a special opportunity tonight to come alongside these women as well. We've set up an easy and convenient way to donate $10 to their work by simply texting P-Life, as in pro-life, to 80888. That's P as in pro-life, life at 80888, and every cent of it will go to help these women and change the future of abortion in our culture. Our first guest has been very busy making her own impact in so many ways. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Abby Johnson. Well, it's so good to see you again. You're no stranger.
No, I'm so glad to be here.
It's great to have you. Abby, tell us about your story. Tell us about why it was that you found yourself at Planned Parenthood and eventually a director there, working for 8 years in that organization.
You know, I started out at Planned Parenthood as a volunteer. I was a student at Texas A&M University, very young, very naive, believing that I was doing a good thing by working at Planned Parenthood, believing that I was helping women. And
wait, let's pause right there. Believing you were doing a good thing and helping women. I think this is such an important part of your story, Abby, and one we need to hear. Tell us more about why you thought you were helping those women.
Well, I had believed the talking points of the pro-choice movement and of Planned Parenthood. I believed that our goal at Planned Parenthood was to reduce the number of unintended pregnancies, therefore reducing the number of abortions. And we were providing preventative services. We were providing preventative education. And I had said that so many times, that little hook point, that little talking point. The only way to reduce abortion is by reducing the number of unintended pregnancies. And the only way to reduce the number of unintended pregnancies is to provide contraception to the masses. And I had said that so many times over and over again. And I also believed that as long as abortion was going to be legal, women needed to have a safe place to have those procedures performed.
Tell us a little bit more about some of the interactions that you had with your colleagues and others as you thought about some of the pro-life folks that were outside of your clinic?
Well, we had two different groups in the very beginning of people that were outside praying and demonstrating in front of our clinic. We had one group of people that were out there consistently peaceful and prayerful. We had another group that were a little more aggressive. They would frequently wear costumes, yell at the women that were going in, and they were not as peaceful and compassionate to the women going in. And so we had two different groups, and one group, the prayerful group and the more compassionate group, they were constantly also reaching out to us as clinic workers, and always telling us that, if you ever want to leave, if you ever think that maybe this is not what you want to do, we're a safe place for you to come.
I think that's so important, and one of the most valuable things that as a movement we need to take away from your story. You've talked, Abby, about a difficult subject, which was your own past history with abortion. How did that impact your working at Planned Parenthood, and how did that factor in, do you think, with your time there and the work that you were involved in?
I think that whenever I first started working at Planned Parenthood, I didn't really see the connection, but now looking back, I see that it was incredibly powerful in my motivation, just getting started on as a volunteer. It's kind of, I think the way that you think about it as someone who gets started at Planned Parenthood is, I'm kind of on this sinking boat. I'm kind of on this sinking ship, and I'm going to drag as many people as I can on the ship with me. And I think that's in my mind what I was thinking. Here I am, and I made this decision, and no one else knows about it. I didn't talk to my parents about it. I didn't talk to my friends about it. No one else knew.
Literally no one else.
Except for me and the man that was involved. No one else knew.
It must have been really hard.
It was, but it was also then easier for me to just stuff it back in my mind and say, this was a medical procedure, it's done all of the time, and here I am listening to these women at Planned Parenthood talk about how it's a normal, everyday part of women's health services, and it's a part of comprehensive women's health care. And so I thought, okay, well, that helps justify then my abortion, my own abortion. And so I think that it just, it helped me understand then why it was an okay idea for me to have an abortion.
Kind of normalized your experience, if you will, and validated it. How important was it to you at the time that you didn't feel that judgment? I think one of the things we hear in the pro-life community is that there are so many women out there who are hurting from what has happened with them in their abortion history, and they feel judgment sometimes, inadvertently, or maybe it happens overtly. Talk a little bit about that role of judgment in your experience as you walked through.
Well, I don't know what it would have been like if I would have reached out to someone else. I don't know what it would have been like if I would have reached out to a pastor at my church, or reached out to a leader at my church. I don't know what that would have been like. I guess that I assumed that there would have been judgment. But I knew that when I went to Planned Parenthood and I talked to them about my abortion experience, there was none. And in fact, they appreciated that I had gone through that experience. They thought that it made me a better advocate for their services. They thought that I would be better able to speak to the women who were coming into Planned Parenthood. They appreciated my experience instead of looking at it as something that I should not talk about. And so I think that also made it a lot easier for me to become, more tightly knit into their system there.
Very, very interesting. We've got so much to learn from you, Abby. We're going to go ahead, and you've written a book about your experiences, and today we're releasing the DVD of your story documentary, same title as your book, Unplanned, and our viewers can purchase both of those resources for only $25, and $10 of that, folks, goes to the pregnancy care centers. Let's go ahead and watch a clip.
I have told all these women that have asked me, will my baby feel this? And Planned Parenthood had a scripted answer. No, the fetus has no sensory development until 28 weeks. All of a sudden, I saw the child's foot jerk. I was just watching, just in shock and just horror almost, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't think. My mind was racing, and I couldn't stop looking at that screen.
Wow, that's very somber, obviously. Talk us through what you were feeling at the time, and tell us a little bit more about that moment.
After watching the ultrasound-guided abortion, I felt shocked. I think a lot of people probably, are under the impression that I went home and just, cried or really had this emotional moment. And that was not what it was like for me. My head was just spinning. I couldn't believe that I had been lied to for so many years, and that I had allowed myself to believe this lie. And I think the hardest part was not that I felt so silly for believing the lie, but that I had lied to so many other women. I think that was the hardest part for me. I have always prided myself on being an honest person, and then I realized that for 8 years, almost everything that had come out of my mouth at work had been a lie. And that was very difficult for me to...
Were you reeling?
I was, but I don't know. I think, really, I felt kind of numb, and just totally in shock. The images that I saw on the ultrasound, that I could explain it in such great detail, to everyone here and everyone listening. It wouldn't even capture what I saw that day. And I can close my eyes today and still see it. And I'm thankful that I can still see it, because it reminds me of what I'm fighting for and what I'm doing now. But I kept just seeing it over and over and over again.
You saw the little one. And in that point, you realize that when a woman is pregnant, not only do you want to help her, but there are now two people, and there are two people instead of one. To me, that so much captures what this comes down to. I think there are people who absolutely want to help women in difficult situations. We're going to talk later with some of the heroes and the leaders in this movement who have been helping people on the front lines minister to those women, and who want to minister to the children, to both of them. So we're going to go ahead and have another clip here, and then we'll come right back.
Elizabeth had been outside the clinic for a while. I knew who she was.
The first nationally coordinated 40 Days for Life was in the fall of 2007. And every single day from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I was out on the sidewalks. I had never talked to somebody who worked inside of an abortion clinic before that. So finally one day she gets out of her car and I say, "Hi, good morning."
The next day, it was something else. "Good morning, hope you have a good day. I'll be praying for you by name."
I would ask her how her day was. I would tell her that I'm praying for her. It wasn't about trying to thump my Bible on her head or anything. I just wanted to talk to her and get to know her. I want to find out where she's coming from. I want to see what motivates her, what drives her, because obviously you don't get to be the director of an abortion clinic without having some really strong opinions about what you do. This is something that can be a real friendship, and it doesn't have to be a confrontation.
We were starting to talk more and more. I remember telling Doug, if there was an offense in between us, I think Elizabeth and I could be friends, because I liked her. One day I went to work and Elizabeth was there after this had been going on for a couple weeks. I pulled up to work and she was holding this bouquet of flowers. And I thought, no way. What is she doing out there with flowers?
And so immediately I was just like, "Hey, Abby, I brought you flowers today." And she like scurried inside, and I'm standing out there by myself still holding these flowers, and I'm like, okay, what do I do with them now?
And I went to my office, and I was sitting there looking outside, looking at her, and I felt bad. And she just kind of stood there looking sad for a long time, and then finally she went out to the driveway and she laid them right in the middle of the driveway. She had written a Bible verse on it, and it was a psalm.
What I wrote on the card was, "The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. I'm still praying for you, Abby. Love, Elizabeth."
Wow. Why did you feel with certain folks that they really wanted to get to know you versus the others who maybe you didn't feel that so much with?
Well, you know, she was always there. She kind of, you know, at one point in time, I didn't know this at the time, but I know now, you know, she was kind of targeting me. You know, every time
in a prayer sense.
In a prayer sense, yeah.
Okay.
Not praying on me in a bad way, but,
yeah.
You know, praying in a good way. But, you know, she was always there when I would get to work. She was, you know, every time I would come into work, she would talk to me in a way that you would talk to your friend. You know, hey, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
Okay,
I
but tell us
a great
the truth.
day.
You didn't think she was weird?
I didn't.
You didn't? Okay.
Actually, I liked her a lot because I mean, I'm sorry to say it now. It's kind of funny, but I took a lot of pride in my ability to intimidate
oh, goodness.
the people that were out there, and I could not shake her down. And I really, really liked that about her.
Okay.
I really respected that. And I liked that she, you know, I thought, you know, if there was not this fence in between us, I think that we could be really good friends. And now that the fence is gone, she's one of my best friends, so I was right.
You were right. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be joined by another one of these people who is instrumental in Abby's story, this incredible relationship, Mr. Sean Carney, who is the executive director of the Coalition for Life. But first, here is your opportunity to make a difference in the lives of preborn children.
I'm Yvette Marr with Focus on the Family. Like many who work for Planned Parenthood, Abby wanted to help women in crisis. But when she came face to face with the reality that every abortion takes a human life, she made the courageous decision to leave Planned Parenthood. And today she's a leading voice for life. And today, you can help provide the services women need when they face an unexpected pregnancy. Here's how. The proceeds from today's webcast will benefit pro-life pregnancy care organizations. We're offering a webcast special, Abby's book and her documentary DVD, a $43 value for only $25. And for every purchase, Focus on the Family will donate $10 to the pro-life pregnancy care organization that's featured on today's webcast. And when you make a donation today, 100% of your gift will be sent to the 2,500 pregnancy care centers and clinics and offer women an alternative to abortion. Just look for the link to purchase the webcast special, or make a donation, or do both. And you'll be joining hands with people from across America to serve women and to save lives. We so appreciate you being here.
That was amazing. We love life, don't we? Absolutely. Well, we're so glad that you have tuned in for Unite for Life, and we hope that you'll tell your friends on Facebook and Twitter right now, send that tweet about this outreach to protect the rights of the preborn as well as to protect the rights of their mothers to have all of the information they need before deciding whether or not to have an abortion. Sean Carney of Coalition for Life is on the phone with us. Now, Sean couldn't be here in person for a very important reason. His wife is about to give birth to their fourth child. Hi, Sean, are you there?
Yeah, Kelly, I'm here. How are you?
Doing great. It's great to hear your voice. Have the contractions started yet?
They have, actually. And so we're entering what will certainly be an exciting week in the Carney house. And so as of the beginning of the webcast, Mary Lisa had not had the baby yet. And so that's really all I can ask for at this point.
So we've got up-to-date information. Well, Sean, we're so glad that you could be with us at this very crucial time in your life. I want to take you back, if you would, Sean, and tell us about the very first time that you met Abby.
Well, it was really amazing once Abby came over into my office in the fall of 2009, because I hadn't realized that her first day to volunteer for Planned Parenthood was also my first day to volunteer for the Coalition for Life and to go for the first time very anxiously out and nervously out to pray in front of an abortion facility. And I, at the time, didn't even know Planned Parenthood did abortions. I was 18 years old, and my then-girlfriend, now wife, invited me out to pray, and that was in the fall of 2001, and that was Abby Johnson's first day to volunteer. And I saw what people would imagine that they would see is women who are not running in and screaming at the pro-lifers going in to have an abortion, but women that are scared, women that are nervous, women that feel they have nowhere else to go but that abortion facility on that morning. And it's very sad, but it's very real. And a young volunteer that day was Abby Johnson, literally on the other side of the fence, and here we are today.
Wow. Sean, what were some of the first things that Abby said to you as you engaged her in conversation? Talk a little bit about what it is that undergirds your ministry when you are outside of those clinics.
Well, when we go out, and we took this model and spread it throughout the 40 Days for Life campaigns across the country that have been done in 372 cities. But the whole approach was centered on prayer and centered on the gospel, to go out and to pray for, yes, the babies and yes, the women, but also for these abortion clinic workers. No one grows up wanting an abortion, and certainly no one grows up wanting to work in the abortion industry. And so we were there for them. I remember my first impressions of Abby, particularly as a Planned Parenthood employee and certainly as a Planned Parenthood director, was that she was a very weak Planned Parenthood director, in the sense that she was so nice to the pro-life people. And I remember seeing her, she would listen to us. We would reach out to her. We would talk to her. And she wasn't angry. She wasn't aggressive towards us 90% of the time. She was very sweet. And she was very gentle. And I remember two distinct conversations that are in her book where we really talked about the issue of abortion. And I remember Abby, she really was a lost person. She was a naive person. And of course, now knowing her and being her friend, it scares me to think that somebody like this can end up working the abortion industry. And to be honest, the more I got to know Abby on the other side of the fence, my frank thoughts were, she's just too good to be working in the abortion industry. Like, how in the world did this person end up in this position? And that's why, yes, it was shocking when she walked over next door 50 yards away from her office after her conversion and came into my office. While that was so surprising, it also made a lot of sense to me, because whenever I saw her and whenever I saw how broken she was and how sad she was about what she had seen and her desire to get out of this industry, I saw the heart that I felt I always knew was there. Certainly there was a guard up. Certainly there has to be a coldness there of working years inside the abortion industry because of the evil that surrounds you. But it was only a matter of time, I feel, that the heart of Abby Johnson eventually overcame all of that fear and anxiety, and that's what happened.
Well, Sean, I think that that happened, obviously, in huge part because of your faithful friendship and prayer and love. And I know on behalf of all of us, we want to say thank you for reaching out to Abby Johnson. Well, Sean, we know you have a lot going on in your life right now, so we're going to let you get back to that wife of yours who's about to have a baby. Congratulations to you and Mary Lisa.
Thank you, and I hope everybody has a wonderful time at the conference.
Thanks, Sean. Take care. Next up on Unite for Life, we have the leaders of the 4 largest pregnancy care organizations sharing stories of how lives have been changed through their work, and you won't want to miss it. And once again, here's Yvette Marr with Focus on the Family.
Let me tell you about Lee. Lee was single, alone, working full-time. She was looking for a house to rent and even thinking about college. Then she started getting sick in the mornings. The home pregnancy test was positive. Lee was then estranged from her family and feeling very much alone. Abortion seemed like her only choice. Then she went to a pregnancy medical clinic that had been equipped by Focus on the Family's Option Ultrasound program. Let's watch this.
I'm Lee, and I want to tell you my story. We had been dating for 6 years. We had parted and gone separate ways. About a month later, I found out I was pregnant. I was devastated. I just wanted to ignore it, and it wouldn't be real. On my lunch break, I got the phone book out, and I was looking up abortion clinics. The first thing in the phone book was abortion alternatives, and I looked under that, and Life Choices was listed under there. When I went to my appointment and I talked with one of the counselors, I remember seeing the cord on the ultrasound machine. I remember seeing his heartbeat, and it was so tiny, and she zoomed in on it, and you could just see it, like I know. And you could just see like the heart like beating. You could actually see it, and it was so neat to see that. That was a real baby, you know. It was real. It wasn't just a test saying you're pregnant. When I first held Court, he was so tiny and so perfect. I loved him so much just the moment I saw him, before I saw him. I loved him so much. What if I'd had that abortion? How awful it would be not to have had this moment of joy and have Court now. To change my life, to not have him in it, it's just unspeakable to even think about it. Going back to that first ultrasound where I saw his heart beating, and then to hold him in my arms when he was born. I just thank God for every moment of it, that I made it through, and that I made the right choice. I loved him so much just the moment I saw him, before I saw him. I loved him so much. I just thank God for every moment of it, that I made it through, and that I made the right choice.
Didn't you just love hearing little Court's voice in the background? And did you see the joy in Lee's eyes? You can help give a voice to these babies like Court, and you can give their mothers a chance to laugh instead of a time of regret because they thought they had no other choice but abortion. Today we're offering a webcast special. Abby's book and her documentary DVD, a $43 value for only $25. And remember, Focus on the Family will donate $10 to Heartbeat, NIFLA, and CareNet. You can make an additional donation, and 100% of that will go to these organizations to help women like Lee to know they have an alternative to abortion.
Hi, my name is Jeremy. I'm the drummer in the band Down Here, and this is my son, Liam. 2 years ago, when Liam was born, he threw us a little bit of a curveball. He was born with an extra chromosome, or with Down syndrome, which was completely unexpected to us. And it was kind of a scary time. We really didn't have any experience with children with Down syndrome before, or children with special needs, and so we weren't quite sure what to do with that. And as we started researching and trying to learn a little bit about that, one of the stats that I came across that really just kind of broke my heart was this: the abortion rate among unborn children who have tested positive for Down syndrome is around 92%. 92%. That means that more than 9 out of 10 families are intentionally choosing to deprive themselves of a blessing like Liam, of raising and living with a child like Liam. So, man, thank you for watching the Unite for Life webcast and for supporting this. And we're just looking forward to seeing what the Lord has in store for Liam and for many children like him around the world. Thank you.
And if you believe that every life matters and believe in the rights of women and the preborn, you can donate $10 to the continuing work of pregnancy care centers conveniently and safely by simply texting P-LIFE to 80888. It's fast, easy, and secure, so text P-LIFE to 80888. This is Unite for Life, and joining Abby Johnson, we have Peggy Hartshorn of Heartbeat International, Melinda Delahoyt of CareNet, Tom Glessner of NIFLA, and Lola French of CAPS. Join us in welcoming them. I'm so glad you're all here. Your friends, your heroes, your champions in this cause. Thank you for what you have done all these years. And I know that everybody here is grateful as well. Thank you to all of you. Peggy, I want to start with you. Congratulations again on the 40th anniversary that Heartbeat is celebrating on this eve of your wonderful conference. Tell us one of the most exciting things that you are looking forward to as we move along in this pro-life movement on your 40th anniversary.
Well, for this anniversary celebration, I'm really looking forward to celebrating so many of the heroes in our movement, starting with some of our founders. We were founded by a wonderful, selfless OBGYN who had been in practice for 45 years, a woman who was a refugee from Nazi Germany, and a very young Catholic nun who was just out of school as a social worker. How these people really did what they did in forming Heartbeat International 40 years ago is phenomenal. But the heroes that the Lord has raised up throughout this entire generation, we're going to be celebrating a special hero from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the aughts as we go through our history throughout this conference. The main thing, though, truly, Kelly, is the power of the Lord that's been with this entire movement and with Heartbeat for over these 40 years. It's amazing the trust that we can have in him because we've seen what he's done.
Absolutely. As I listen to you tell the story of some of the founders, it strikes me that each of us can play a role, even if we don't know what that's going to be. Talk to us a little bit. Tell us a story about a woman who's been served by one of your affiliate organizations as she has faced an incredibly difficult decision about an unexpected pregnancy.
Well, thank you, Kelly. It fits, the story I'm thinking of that came to mind when you asked me the question relates also to the beginning of your question, which is about all the volunteers and the staff members and the board members and the supporters that really are part of this glorious story. Because without them, we wouldn't have the stories of the lives saved and changed. So I'm thinking of the story of Fern, who actually is a woman from Boston, who's a supporter of pregnancy centers, a volunteer. She had just been trained in the Love Approach, just starting as a volunteer.
Now, the Love Approach, what's that?
Well, the Love Approach, I should have said, the Love Approach is I believe, wonderful way of thinking of how to do this work. It comes from 1 Corinthians 13, that I can speak with the tongue of men and of angels, but if I have not love, I sound like a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. So it's through love that must come through us and through everything we do in the pregnancy centers that truly we believe lives are saved and changed. And the good thing about it is it's so simple. It's 4 steps: LOVE, listen and learn, introduce options, introduce a new vision, and extend and empower services, which everyone can do.
That's right.
And actually on our website, you can even download the outline of how to do it. You can do it with your family, friends, coworkers. You mentioned how many people are facing crisis pregnancies today. So we can't do it all in the pregnancy centers. But Fern had just learned the love approach and was a brand new volunteer, and they matched her with a client who had come into the center, a student in Boston, very serious student. She was Japanese. And Fern also had a Japanese background. And even though she had seen the ultrasound, even though she was faced with the truth, like you were, Abby, she was still so conflicted because of the pressure that she was under, and it was the relationship. You talked about the value of relationship. It was the relationship that Fern was able to form with her over a series of months. She actually had 3 abortion appointments. Wow. But God intervened in every case, and Fern was there, always helping, supporting, and the pregnancy center was providing services. And actually, Fern kept a prayer journal, which people can read. It's on our website, to show you what the feelings of the client and the conflicting the stress that she was under throughout that time, as well as the need for prayer and the faith and the relationship building that Fern actually went through. But the wonderful result is that a beautiful little baby was born, and she finally did, of course, choose life. And so we see the fruits of that. But sometimes we really have to struggle and fight for the life of the unborn, even with the wonderful miracle of ultrasound. We need to wrap it in love.
Yes, I was going to say this is the perfect example, what you're describing, of the pairing of medical technology with the love of Christ, because we never want to do anything outside of that love. So thank you, Peggy. We very much appreciate that. Melinda, I want to turn to you and ask you, talk about what you're doing at CareNet in the urban centers across America that relate to combining this love approach with ultrasound technology and all of the wonderful services that your affiliates provide out there to women every day.
Well, Kelly, that's an exciting area right now. You know, I think the best way to describe it is through a story. We really at CareNet realized that God wanted us to go to the cities where over 80% of abortions are performed. And we knew that we had to proactively be planting pregnancy centers in those cities. We didn't have a clue what to do.
I love that honesty. We didn't have a clue.
You know, some great centralized plan with strategic resources, but we prayed. We just sat down as a staff and we prayed. And the city that kept coming to our minds was Detroit. What about Detroit? We didn't know anyone in Detroit who was interested in pregnancy centers. But we were, and so we kept on praying. And one day we got a call from a pastor in Detroit who said, Melinda, these pregnancy centers, I think we need one, and we don't know what to do. Could you help us? Well, you know, that was like music to our ears. So being able to go to that church, which I wish you could have been there when we got to the church in the middle of one of Detroit's worst neighborhoods, with guards at the door, with homeless people and drug addicts literally coming in the doors of the church throughout the day, asking for food, asking for help, some of them in just terrible shape, and to see the love of this pastor and his congregation and the heart that they have for women and unborn children. And to walk out the doors when they let us go out by ourselves, really, and I will never forget this young girl that was on the sidewalk across the street. And she was very, scantily dressed, very young, and almost skipping down that street. And on either side of her were not nice people, let's put it that way. And here was this young girl, And I thought, who is going to be there to help her? Who is going to care about her when she's obviously in the middle of horrible situations? And yet here was this pastor and his church and his congregation. And if that wasn't the best combination of the love of God, the ministry of God's people, and the care and compassion and resources that can be put into a pregnancy center in that city.
I love it. That's a perfect story. Well, we are going to go ahead and take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to continue to talk with our guests. One of the ways you can help these 4 wonderful organizations and all of the clinics and the centers they work with is to take advantage of the very special pricing available tonight on Abby's book and her new documentary DVD, Unplanned. You can order both of these resources bundled together for just $25. $10 of it is going to go right back to Heartbeat, CareNet, NIFLA, and CAPS. And you can also make a donation above and beyond that $25 if you feel led. Think about that as you watch the story of a young man who found himself in a place he never thought he'd be.
We found out about the pregnancy center from a friend of hers. She told us to go there to the pregnancy center because they had free pregnancy tests. And our experience when we first went to the pregnancy center was, it was kind of an oasis in the midst of chaos. Not just a pregnancy test and here's some pamphlets for you to look at, you know. It was kind of home-like, you know, a real connection with people. The thing that we could always stand firm in was that we were in the Life Steps program, and that if we went to these classes, we were going to get this amount of baby bucks. And if we got this amount of baby bucks, then we were going to be able to get this thing for our son, or such as the crib or the car seat, or get these clothes, or get the baby bathtub. A lot of things that probably would have cost us well over $1,000. It helped out a whole lot, even if there wasn't really anybody that was going to help us in that time. So it felt like there wasn't no one, you know. The first time that I went to the fathering class, I had met with the fathering coach and kind of calmed my spirit a little bit. As I've met with each of the guys, the relationship was kind of one that they weren't really going to just go away, you know what I mean? If I was there, then they would be there, you know. That was kind of it was a type of reliability type thing that helped me and taught me at the same time. The moment that I saw him, it was life-changing. It's a feeling that can't be replaced by anything. God has taught me through this experience a lot about myself and a lot about him. A lot more so to put my faith and trust in him and not in myself. And that he has everything in his hands, and it's there for a reason.
You know, Proverbs 31:8 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves." Life itself is the most precious gift we've ever been given. And yet, in our country today, there are more than 1 million abortions every year. At Focus on the Family, we think we can do better than that. And it starts with providing services needed by women who are facing unexpected pregnancies. And you can help. The proceeds from today's webcast will benefit pro-life pregnancy care organizations. We're offering a webcast special. Today, Abby's book and her documentary DVD, which is a $43 value, is yours for only $25. For every purchase, Focus on the Family will donate $10 to Heartbeat, CareNet, and NIFLA. And when you make a donation, every dollar of your gift will go to help clinics and offer women an alternative. Click to purchase the webcast special, or make a donation, or do both. I want to thank you so much for joining with us. I hope you're enjoying today's webcast.
Well, I'm so glad you tuned in to the Unite for Life webcast. And if you're finding yourself right now in an unplanned pregnancy, I challenge you to look around and look at people like me who are unable to have children. There is no such thing as an unwanted child. I'm going to say it again. There's no such thing as an unwanted child. You may not want your baby, but there's someone like me, and there are a lot of people like me who will take care of your baby and who will love your baby as their own. So I just encourage you to do the right thing and be a hero to your child.
There are thousands of women just like Jamie who would be willing to adopt a child in need of a family. These children don't have to be aborted. Loving homes are waiting for them. But the women and men who face unexpected pregnancies sometimes are uninformed, and they usually don't have anyone to come alongside them and support their decision to carry and deliver that baby. Can you be that person? It's easy to get involved. You can start by texting P-LIFE to 80888 and donate $10. You can order Abby Johnson's book and DVD bundle for $25, and $10 of that will go to the organizations that we've been featuring tonight. Or you can use your talents. If you're in the medical field, you can volunteer at a pregnancy medical clinic. If you're a pastor, be a mentor. If you have administrative skills, you can fundraise. I know they'd all appreciate that, right, folks? Or you can work on a center's website. Moms, coordinate a baby clothes driving or a diaper drive. There are lots of rewarding ways to unite for life. We're going to go back to our panel now, and Tom, we're going to come to you. Many people watching might not realize that you are the legal and medical expert of the world when it comes to pregnancy care centers. But you know what I want to talk to you about today, Tom? I want you to talk to our audience and to those who are watching about the impact of abortion on men. We don't often hear about the impact that this decision has on the lives of the men who are involved.
Well, actually, Kelly, if I can almost twist your question, I'd like to talk about the impact of ultrasound on a man and his heart towards his unborn child. You know, men are the kind of the forgotten person in this whole debate. Abortion affected Abby as a clinic director. It affects the mother who's considering abortion. It obviously affects the baby. But what about the men? You know, we've created a generation of men who have been left out. It's a woman's right to choose. Man has no responsibility. But in our organization, we have over 750 pregnancy medical clinics that are using ultrasound. And here's the power of ultrasound on a man. Story in Fredericksburg, where I'm from, there was a young couple coming into the pregnancy center. They'd been living together for quite a few years. They'd had one abortion. And the young man was with his significant other as she was being scanned. And he looked and he saw the baby, and he saw the heartbeat, and he looked down at his bride-to-be, and he said, "We can't do it again." And then he looked at the screen, and he said, "Baby, we love you."
Oh.
And you can get emotional about that. But men are the key to this, because we know why a woman has an abortion. It's because she has lost the number one male figure in her life, the support of that man. And ultrasound can be used to turn that man's heart towards his child. You know, the prophet, Old Testament prophet, Malachi, or I like to say the Italian prophet Malachi, he prophesied about a day when God would turn the hearts of the fathers toward their children. And I believe that's this day. That's this day where the miracle of ultrasound, and used in the pregnancy centers across the nation, can actually turn the hearts of the fathers. And we want to bring the fathers into this process. It's so important. Together, men and women, together can end this thing. It's not going to be women alone. We've got to have the men involved.
And that's why we want to unite for life. This is so important that you're here today. It's so important the work you're doing. I want to turn to your right, Tom, and talk to Lola and say welcome here to the U.S. from Canada. We're glad you're here. Tell us about what's happening and what are the incredible life opportunities available to folks in Canada.
Thank you, Kelly. It's really great to be here with all of you. And you know, in Canada, things are a little bit different.
Tell us about that. I think people probably think they know, but as it relates to this issue, tell us about how things are different.
Well, Canada is the only country in the Western world that has absolutely no abortion law.
Interesting.
So that means that a woman going through an unplanned pregnancy, being pressured, and her circumstances pressuring her, that she really has the pressure throughout her whole pregnancy. There's no time in her pregnancy where that comes to a close and the decision's made. A woman in Canada can have an abortion any time throughout her pregnancy, right up until natural birth. And then we have the universal health care system. The universal health care system is extremely challenged and stressed, and so the medical practitioners just have so much on their plate, and this is where the pregnancy centers come in, are just so important, because you know that any woman who's going through crisis is really going to need a holistic approach, and she needs to have someone there for her emotionally and physically and spiritually. And so the pregnancy centers across Canada, we have almost 80 of them now, are reaching out to women in this way. And just last week I heard one of our centers tell me that they had a young woman who was living common law. They already had a child. And she came home to tell him that she was pregnant with her second. Well, that was too much for him, and he left her. And she said he took everything with her, including the car. And so she was really devastated. Here she was feeling so abandoned and alone, and now expecting another baby. And so, thankfully...
Lola, I just want to stop you here. This is huge, because I think for all of us and for all the people watching who are pro-life, we hear these stories and we can almost get numb to them. But if we really put ourselves in the place of this woman you're describing, these are dire circumstances.
Absolutely.
And so, continue your story. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it does.
It makes sense to someone, even though she came home to tell him, hey, we're having another baby.
Right.
But now abortion maybe makes sense because she's so devastated and alone and
what
just
happened?
So scared.
Right.
Well, she contacted her pregnancy center counselor, whom she has had relationship with, and because of that long-term relationship, love made the difference. And
we have a theme emerging here tonight. Love, we do.
But it's love that touched Abby's heart as well, and it's love that turned this story around. She was able to get connected in her community with a church through the pregnancy center. And this church had a car ministry of all things. Who would have thought?
There you go.
And
use all talents.
Not only did she get a reliable car given to her free of charge,
oh, I love that.
She found a supportive community that are there with her. And as a result, she's now building her future career. Because she has a vehicle, she started school, and she's got plans for the future so that she can continue on and give life to this child and improve her life for her and her children. And that's all because of the love approach.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Well, if there's two themes here tonight, that's exactly right. Thank you. I think that your story, Abby, demonstrates so perfectly the love of Christ, the power of ultrasound, the impact of being there and being present with those opportunities that God puts in front of you. We just have a little bit of time left. Quickly, I'm going to start with you, Peggy. What would you say is the key for someone listening? What could they do to make a difference for life?
Well, I say if they want to learn the love approach, anyone can learn. Listen and learn, open options, introduce a new vision and value, because women feel so small and so alone. The new vision is that, you were made in the image and likeness of God. Jesus loved you. Jesus died for you. And we have a new vision for you as a woman, as a woman with a gift of fertility. So that new vision, and then extend and empower her to make a choice for life. People can learn this, and they can download that on our website. So learn the love approach.
Learn the love approach.
You can use it.
Melinda.
We have a phrase that we use at CareNet, and it's called raise your hand for life. And I think we like that because it's so simple. It's something that anybody can do, whether it's volunteering in a pregnancy center. Go to our websites, find out where the pregnancy center is near you. Become involved. Give that encouraging word. Learn how to volunteer. And as something as simple as raise your hand for life, anybody can do that, and everyone can be a part of that.
Be a voice. Tom, quickly.
Okay, medical clinics, they
There you
cost
go.
money. Ultrasound machines cost money. Hey, people listening, open up the wallets here for your local pregnancy center.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, do it.
Lola, last word.
I just want to encourage you to be a part of God's story, because there is no greater privilege than being a part of that story, helping someone in need, and making a huge difference to life. So let's unite.
Let's unite for life. Thank you, folks.
I could see his head and his body and his legs.
I saw the heart beating and I knew that was a baby. It really made everything real for me.
When I heard the heartbeat, I said, he can have an abortion.
Forehead, nose, lips, chin, neck. This is their chest.
I knew that there was actually something in me. I just cried.
Saying, hi, Mom.
And now she's beautiful and I love her a lot. And I'm glad I didn't have an abortion.